I wanted to just touch base on hiring. Hiring for a product role. I've always found this, even with our portfolio companies, become product is a very generalized term. Product managers, and if you're not a product manager, hiring for this role is complicated. Interviewing for this role is complicated, um, and understanding what uh, experience is valuable, what experience might not be, what experience should we be looking for, are all things that have to be learned over time. Unlike, let's say, hiring someone in the accounts department, let's say, for example. Talk to us a little bit about how you hire for product, what you look for, and where you found very interesting places. You found very cool talent.
Yeah, I mean, it's a like you said, it's tricky. Hiring in general is hard because it's very hard to test people do in an interview, because in that setting, how they behave in that setting could be very different from how they behave in real life when they have to actually do things. Both, you'll be positively as well as negatively surprised. I have very simple things that I look for. I think I mentioned I definitely try to find markers for ownership. Say, look, are you a real owner, and will you sort of feel the ownership and the weight of ownership? That makes the biggest difference. The second piece that I look for is the ability to learn and unlearn. And the way I test it, I generally ask very few questions on the past, how they did something in the past, because I find that that's interesting but somewhat easier to describe. But when you throw new problems in them, and a lot of times I throw problems at them that I'm grappling with and I'm considering, should I go this way or that way? And that gives me an insight into sort of how they solve problems and how they're learning suddenly a new area thrown at them. They have to get more data, or sometimes they have to even ask me questions to understand that area. And that tells you like how quickly can they ask the right questions, learn. And the way and unlearning is as critical or almost more critical, because when you have these strong held beliefs that you don't want to move, they can sometimes drag you down. And so I try to challenge people on things and say, look, what if this, what if that, and try to see that things that they truly believe, or during the course of the conversation they've said, look, I think this is the right thing to do. And you try to really challenge them and see how they think about that, and do they see the other aspects, the other side of the coin at all. So that learning unlearning is really important. The last point is about passion. You want to see emotion and passion, because it's not this is a hard job, and I almost think of it as a way of life. You everything around you starts bothering as a product manager. You say, look, why is this switch upside down, why is this table in this place? And then you have to prioritize. But having that passion to start with is really important. So I definitely look for that. So those are the three things that I'd look for. I'm looking for like continuously proof points in their past, proof points through sort of testing certain things that I can. But one thing that said I do after every interview that I do, and everybody who's interviewed with me knows this, is that I close my eyes and say, can I imagine reporting to this person? Am I inspired enough? Did they tell me things that I don't know? Are there things that I learned from them? And if I can say yes to that, then it's easier. Then that works for me, because that means you can get somebody who you can trust, who you can who you can leave alone, and they can create great products.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. Okay, I have time for one more last thing, and I want to bring back what you said at the very beginning of this podcast and have ended on that note. But you're excited about the how products are going to be using not your voice, not your typing skills, but your mind. What's a product? How are they going to do that without being invasive? And where does this go, real quick?
Look, this has been, it seems it's been around for a while. I mean, I have to dig it up, but I think somebody at MIT had done this helmet through which they had tweeted a few words. and this was a while back. Like I can,
I remember this. I remember
right?
the helmet. Yeah.
Now this was a helmet. Remember, it was a helmet. It wasn't a Neuralink or anything
Yeah,
invasive at
that's
all.
true. That's right. I didn't realize. I
So
remember that. Yeah.
so I think so both, and the way my mind went to this is, I'm very, everybody who's talked to me in the last year and a half knows about this, but I've been very impressed by this book called Why We Sleep. And and there he talks about how, and this sort of got me thinking about these products and the sleep products, is how in the last 5 or 6 years the technology has improved so that they can actually measure what's going inside your mind somewhat, like what kind of signals are happening. They talk about these sleep spindles, other things that are happening inside your mind, and it seems that they're able to catch some waves. I'm not expert on sort of these waves in hardware, but and there are products out there. I think there's a product called Muse, I think, on Amazon, or the other places where you can find these products. I need to actually, I'm looking to try some of these. Is and I don't, again, I don't know whether they're safe or not. I think they are, but you should be able to sort of get these, understand some of these waves, based on the electrical signals inside your brain, and that, my guess is, allows you to train these devices and say, look, when you see this kind of a wave, then it means this wave means A, this wave means B, and then it could get more and more complicated. In fact, that book, it talked, this Why We Sleep book, it talked about how they could sort of train people and show them images and measure the impulse. And I could show you image of a car, image of a tree, image of a diamond, stuff like that. And then when we were sleeping, if you dreamt about them, I would just wake you up and say, hey, were you thinking about a car? And they got it right most of the time, because that's sort of, they were able to read those waves. So it seems it's starting to get there. The reason it excites me, Sid, is because both, it's, this is again a very tricky area, all kinds of sort of ethical and other questions, so I don't want to get into that. But just from a pure technology and excitement perspective, it's like crazy how limiting, inputting into a computer is, and how limiting it is to be able to take time to read or listen to thing or watch it, versus being able to get it right away. So I'm pretty excited. 10, 20 years from now, there'll be stuff that, if we are talking again, I'll say, look, we talked about that, and now it's here.
See, now it's going to be on record. That's going to be. This is this book by Matthew Walker? Is that the right book?
You're right. Highly recommend.